Hey guys, it's Tim, the Lockpicking Patrolman, and today I want to kick off a new line of videos explaining how to pick open the American 1100 series and 1200 series of padlocks. These are very common amongst lock sporters who are trying to increase their abilities, learn how to pick different locks. Also, they're very convenient because, as we'll talk about, they're aluminum, so they're lightweight. They are a kind of a small size, so they're easy to transport. You know, throw one in your bag, keep one by the couch in the living room, and you've got instant practice wherever you are. So, for the first part of this series, I want to look at what makes these guys tick. And first blush, we have the aluminum body, like I talked about. In a Saturday Live video I did a couple weeks ago, I actually took a body and all of the parts and put it back together into a functioning lock. That would be this lock right here. And you can go back and watch that Saturday Live where I explored the whole process. And because of that live, there was Pocket Woman, who is a picker in our log sport community. She was experiencing difficulty picking these, so I figured it's been a while since any really in-depth series has been made on these, and wanted to get it out to some of the newer pickers. So we'll go back to the aluminum body. It measures, let's see, about 1.5 inches across at the bottom, or that would be just shy of 40 millimeters. Looks like about 36 millimeters, perhaps. Probably way off on those measurements, but anyway, it's a good size for your hand. Obviously, I don't have the shackle on this one, but they come with the shackle. The 1200 series is essentially the same lock, just a little bit bigger. You can see the lock body itself is almost 45 millimeters, about 44 millimeters in width, which is about 1.75 inches. But it has the same core. And in fact, these cores are used in many different locks, including some of the other American clones. This is an Ace Hardware brand that is a clone of the American 700 series. This lock is not aluminum. This is all a big chunk of steel, but it has the same core in there. So anything we talk about as far as picking will apply to any clone of the American series lock. So let's get started talking about what's actually inside of here that we need to worry about picking. Well, the first thing is this core. And this core, like I said, is common not just in the 1100 series, but also some other series, Brinks, Ace Hardware, several other off-brands use it. And of course, similar to some of the things that Master Lock is using now, because Master Lock bought the American Lock Corporation. But anyway, the principles will be the same because of the pins, their designs, and the designs of the core. So we have a 6-pin core. It's drilled out for 6 chambers. Now, most of the time when you find these in the wild or buy them off of eBay, they are pinned up only to 5 pins, meaning that there are 5 cuts on the key. And so we only have to worry about picking 5 pins. This very back chamber here is usually not populated with anything. These cores are held together by a small C-clip that goes on the back, snaps down and prevents the plug from falling out of the core. So the cores are also held in the body using a plate that looks like this and hooks in the body like so. That holds the core down in the lock body. Then you have a screw retainer that looks like this that drops down through, and it is accessed through this shackle hole. This is the hole where the open end of the shackle pops out, and there is a Phillips head screw down in there which holds this all together. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's talk a little bit about what makes these kind of difficult to pick. The standard run-of-the-mill American lock pins that you will find are going to be kind of a challenge sometimes if you're not used to picking security pins. These are two key pins, which these are the bottom pins that come in direct contact with the key when it's inserted in the lock. You can see up here that there are two tiny grooves in here, serrations. Those like to catch up on the lock body. We can see sort of how the tops of these, if you pick them too high, they will catch. But if you learn these locks, then those serrations can give you a lot of feedback and tell you exactly where you are when it comes to picking, your progress picking a particular lock. Now, the other thing to note about these pins is that they are much smaller than your standard key and knob, key and lever cylinder pins. You can see they're smaller diameter, and even though these are roughly the same length, the diameter of this pin is much larger. So you're going to have a harder time getting the pick of your tip, or the tip of your pick, rather, on the tip of the pin. So, and they're also spaced a little bit more closely together. So you may think that you're feeling one pin when in fact you're feeling another pin. So let's take a look at the drivers. There are two kinds of driver pins or top pins that are included in these locks. There's spools, which are this pin right here. And of course, they're called spools because the inner part is a reduced diameter, makes it look like a thread spool. And then there are, on the American lock pins, there are the grooves cut at the top and the bottom, which are other serrations. Again, those will get hung up in the plug of the core so that when you're picking, this will want to catch right there on the edge and give you confusing feedback about where you are in the progress of picking the lock. The other kind of top pin that is found in these locks are these standard serrated pins, and you can see they have just serrations through them, and those serrations function the same as the serrations on the spools, where they just get caught up on the edge and click until you set them correctly. Also with the spools, if you're not familiar with how these work, if you lift them just right, you can see how this spool kind of slants. It doesn't sit in there at an angle. It's going to catch between the top of the lock and the bottom. So it's going to make it turn just a bit, which forces you to rotate the core back and forth during your picking so that you can align those spools to where you can push them up to the correct height, but also not drop everything and be able to turn the plug. So that's what makes these tick. Next video, we will see how we make them pick. Any questions or comments, leave them below. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Stay safe, stay out of trouble, and we'll see you next time.